My wife looked me straight in the eye and said, "I want to open our marriage for 1 month. I just need to do it once, get it out of my system, and then I'll be all yours." I told her absolutely not. She shrugged and said, "I'm going to do it anyway. I was just hoping we could be adults about it." That was the moment I realized she wasn't asking for my permission. She was informing me. So I stopped arguing. "Fine," I said. 1 month, same rules for both of us. She smiled. 5 days later, she was standing in our living room, staring at me with pure rage, while I calmly introduced her to 2 very attractive women as my sister. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Mark. I'm 34, and at the time this happened, Emily and I had been married for 6 years. Until that week, I would have described our marriage as pretty normal. We argued about dishes, whose turn it was to buy groceries, and Emily's firm belief that an empty cardboard box could apparently live beside the trash can indefinitely without technically becoming trash. You know, marriage. We didn't have kids. We both worked full-time, made decent money, had a comfortable house, took a couple of trips every year, and generally got along well. At least I thought we did. Emily had been acting a little different for a few months, but nothing dramatic enough to make me suspicious. She started talking more about getting older. Not old, mind you. Emily was 32, but apparently 32 had become the age at which she needed to stare into the middle distance and mourn the reckless youth she never had. She'd say things like, "I feel like I spent my 20s being responsible," which was technically true. She went to college, got a job, dated a few guys, met me at 25, and married me a little over a year later. A devastating tragedy. Her friends didn't help. A couple of them were single, and whenever Emily went out with them, she'd come home with stories about spontaneous weekends, terrible dates, random guys buying them drinks, and whatever else single adults apparently do when they don't have to spend Saturday morning comparing prices on vacuum cleaners. At first, I laughed about it. Then Emily started saying things like, "Sometimes I wonder what I missed." That was harder to laugh at. The first time she said it, we were having dinner. I looked up from my food. Missed? You know, experiences. That word should be illegal in marriages. Nobody has ever looked at their spouse and said, "I think I need new experiences," right before suggesting pottery classes. What kind of experiences? She rolled her eyes. Nothing, forget it. So I did. A few weeks later, she brought it up again. Then again. Always indirectly. She'd talk about how people settle down too young, how couples who were secure in their relationships supposedly didn't need to be threatened by attraction to other people. I remember asking her once, "Are you trying to tell me something?" "No. Because this feels like a presentation where you haven't gotten to the sales pitch yet." She laughed. I laughed. Apparently only one of us understood that it actually was a sales pitch. Then came Tuesday night. Nothing special happened that day. I got home from work around 6. Emily was already there. We ate dinner, cleaned up, and sat down in the living room. She barely spoke. Every few minutes she checked her phone. Then she put it face down on the coffee table. That got my attention. Emily normally treated her phone like a life support device. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah." She waited a few seconds. "Actually, can we talk?" There are certain phrases that instantly change a man's blood pressure. "We need to talk" is number 1. "Do you remember what today is" is probably number 2. I muted the TV. "What's wrong?" Emily turned toward me. "I've been thinking a lot lately." I noticed. "I'm serious, Mark." "So am I." She took a breath. "I love you." And there it was, the emotional airbag deployed before the crash. "And I love our marriage." I stared at her. "But," she sighed, "I just feel like I never really got to explore myself before we got married." Like she was Lewis and Clark, and apparently I'd been blocking access to the Pacific Ocean. "What exactly are you trying to explore?" "You know what I mean." "I genuinely don't." She hesitated, then she finally said it. I think we should open our marriage. I stared at her, not because I hadn't heard her. I heard her perfectly. I was just waiting for the rest of reality to return. It didn't. You think we should what? Open our marriage? For what? She looked annoyed. For other people, Mark. Oh, good. For a second I thought you meant opening it to investors. She didn't laugh. That's when I knew this wasn't one of those conversations where sarcasm was going to save me. I'm serious. So am I. I'm trying to understand why my wife suddenly wants a subscription service for other men. It wouldn't be like that. What would it be like? She had an answer ready. Of course she did. 1 month. I actually laughed. 1 month? Yes. Why a month? Because I don't want this permanently. I stared at her. Somehow that was supposed to make me feel better. She continued. I just feel like there's something I need to experience. Once. Something? She looked away. Being with someone else? There it was. No philosophy, no exploration, no TED Talk about modern relationships. I just need to do it once, she said quietly. Get it out of my system, then I'm all yours. I sat there for a few seconds. Then I said, no. Her eyebrows lifted. No? No? You're not even going to think about it? I just did. For 5 seconds. I'm a fast thinker. Mark. Emily. She stood up and started pacing. You're treating this like I'm asking to leave you. No. If you were asking to leave me, this conversation would actually be simpler. That's not fair. What exactly would be fair here? She crossed her arms. I'm being honest with you. That sentence irritated me more than it probably should have. People love using honesty like it's a gift certificate, as if saying something terrible honestly somehow makes the terrible part disappear. Congratulations, I said. Do you want a medal? See? This is exactly why I was nervous about telling you. I'm sorry my reaction to my wife asking permission to be with someone else hasn't made this easier for you. It's not about someone else. Interesting choice of words considering it literally requires someone else. You know what I mean. No, Emily, I really don't. She sat down again. I chose you. I married you. I want a life with you. This isn't about replacing you. Then don't. She went quiet. Problem solved. At least, that's what I thought. Then she said, I still want to do it. I looked at her. What? She swallowed but held my gaze. I'm going to do it anyway. I was just hoping we could be adults about it. For a second, I genuinely had nothing to say. It's rare that someone can insult you, threaten your marriage, and accuse you of immaturity in the same sentence. Honestly, it was efficient. So this conversation was what? I asked. A courtesy notification? That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said. I wanted your support. You wanted permission. I wanted understanding. And when you didn't get it? She looked away. That was my answer. Something inside me went strangely calm. Up until that point, I'd been angry because I thought we were negotiating. We weren't. Emily had already made her decision. I was just the last person being informed, so I leaned back against the couch. Okay, she looked at me. Okay, let's do it. Her entire face changed. Relief. Immediate, obvious relief. That bothered me almost as much as everything else. Really? Sure. She moved closer. Mark, I promise this doesn't change how I feel about you. I'm sure. It's just 1 month, and we don't have to tell each other details. Great. She reached for my hand. Then I added, same rules for both of us. Her fingers stopped moving. It lasted maybe half a second, but I noticed. What? Open marriage, I said. 1 month. Same rules for both of us. Well, obviously. She said it quickly. Too quickly. I nodded. Perfect. She studied my face. You'd actually want to be with someone else? I almost laughed. 5 minutes earlier, apparently wanting other people was a beautiful journey of self-discovery. Now that I might be doing some exploring myself, suddenly we needed a feasibility study. I don't know, I said. But if the marriage is open, it's open. Emily stared at me for another second. Then she smiled. Okay. Okay. She leaned over and kissed me. And just like that, the most insane conversation of our marriage ended with her looking happier than she had in weeks. That should have told me everything, but I still didn't understand one important detail. Emily hadn't asked to open our marriage because she wanted freedom. She'd asked because she was absolutely certain I wouldn't use mine. How wrong she was. But before we get back to the story, if you're enjoying it so far, take a second to subscribe to Steel Heart and leave a comment below. And if you want to help the channel grow, share this video with a friend and use your hype points on this video. It takes just a moment, but it helps Steel Heart reach a much bigger audience. Alright, back to the story. The next morning, Emily was unusually cheerful. Not normal cheerful. Christmas morning cheerful. She made coffee for both of us, kissed me before work, and even asked what I wanted for dinner. Apparently, opening your marriage does wonders for domestic morale. I watched her move around the kitchen while checking her phone every 30 seconds. Busy morning? I asked. She immediately put it down. Just work. Of course. She gave me a look. What? Nothing. I left it there. We had agreed not to ask for details, and I intended to follow the rules. Mostly because I wanted to see how long she could follow them herself. The answer was about 12 hours. That evening, I was sitting on the couch when Emily walked in and saw me looking at my phone. Who are you texting? I looked up. Seriously? I'm just asking. Someone from work. She hesitated. A woman? I smiled. Would it matter? Her expression tightened. No. Great. I went back to my phone. It was actually Jake. He had sent me a video of a raccoon stealing food from a cat. Very seductive stuff. Emily stood there for another few seconds before walking away. That was the first time I realized something important. She loved the idea of an open marriage. She just hated imagining me in one. The next day, Emily texted me around 4. Going out tonight with some friends. Don't wait up. Friends. The most hard-working word in the English language. It can mean 3 co-workers getting tacos. It can also mean your wife wearing the black dress she normally saves for anniversaries. When I got home, she was getting ready. Hair done. Makeup done. Perfume. Definitely tacos. You look nice, I said. She glanced at me through the mirror. Thanks. Special occasion? She stopped applying lipstick. We said no questions. I asked if there was a special occasion. You know what you're doing? I'm complimenting my wife. Apparently I'm terrible at this marriage. She sighed. Please don't make tonight weird. I leaned against the bedroom door. I'm not making anything weird, Emily. She looked at me. For a moment, I almost asked her not to go. Not because I'd changed my mind. I just wanted to see if there was still some tiny part of her waiting for me to stop her. She picked up her purse. I'll probably be late. Okay. Don't wait up. Wasn't planning to. That bothered her. I could tell. She wanted me upset. Not angry enough to interfere. Just upset enough to prove I cared. Unfortunately, emotional choreography has never been my strength. She left. I watched the door close. Then I sat down in the living room. For the first hour, I tried watching TV. For the second, I stared at the TV while absorbing absolutely nothing. By 11, I turned it off. Midnight came, then 1. Emily finally returned a little after 2. I was still awake, reading in bed. She stepped into the bedroom and froze when she saw me. You're awake. Excellent observation. I thought you'd be asleep. I tried. She put her purse down. Neither of us said anything. She disappeared into the bathroom. When she came back, she climbed into bed and lay beside me. Then she touched my arm. Mark? Yeah? I love you. I stared at the ceiling. I love you too. She moved closer. It happened. There are sentences you know are coming and still wish you hadn't heard. I closed my book. We agreed on no details. I know. I just thought you should know. She watched me carefully. I think she expected anger, maybe questions, maybe jealousy. Instead, I turned off the lamp. Good night, Emily. Mark. What? Are you okay? I almost laughed. What exactly was the correct answer? Fantastic, honey. 5 stars. Would recommend. I'm tired. She didn't push. The next morning, I was making coffee when she came downstairs. She looked nervous, then, strangely, relieved. She walked over and wrapped her arms around me from behind. It's over. I kept pouring coffee. What is? You know. I turned around. She smiled. Not happily. More like someone who had completed an unpleasant task and wanted credit for finishing it. I did what I needed to do, she said. I don't need anything else. I stared at her. So that's it? I asked. She nodded. I told you. Once. And now? Now I'm all yours. There was that phrase again. Like I'd loaned my wife to the public library and she was pleased to report she'd been returned ahead of schedule. She kissed my cheek. I actually think this was good for us. I looked at her. You do? Yes. I feel like I got it out of my system. Great. She smiled. So we can just go back to normal. I took a sip of coffee. No. Her smile disappeared. What? We agreed on a month. She blinked. I know, but I don't need a month. She stared at me. I let the silence do the work. Then her expression changed. Oh, you're seriously going to keep doing this? I almost admired that sentence. She had somehow managed to describe her own idea as something I was now doing to her. You wanted 1 month. I wanted the option. So do I. Her arms folded. Have you already met someone? No details, remember? I'm asking a simple question, and I'm following your rules. She started getting irritated. I thought once I did it, we'd move on. No, Emily. You had your experience. Now you want to change the agreement before I get the same opportunity. She shook her head. This isn't a competition. Good. Then you shouldn't care. That shut her up. For about 3 seconds. I just don't understand why you'd even want to. That one made me laugh. She frowned. What's funny? 2 days ago, you gave me a speech about experiences, freedom, trust, and being secure in our marriage. And now you can't understand why I might want the exact same thing? That's not the exact same thing. She looked away. Then she said something that explained the entire situation. Quietly, almost under her breath. I didn't think you'd actually do anything. I stared at her. You didn't? She immediately realized what she'd said. That came out wrong. No, I think it came out perfectly. You wanted equal rules because you thought I couldn't use them. She grabbed her bag. I'm not having this conversation before work. Great. Have a good day. She reached the door, then turned around. Just don't do anything stupid. I raised my coffee. Very comforting advice from the woman who invented this arrangement. She slammed the door. I stood there alone for a moment. Then my phone buzzed. It was Jake. Drinks Friday? I looked at the message. Then at the front door, Emily had just slammed. I typed back. Absolutely. Friday night suddenly sounded like a wonderful time to explore myself. Jake picked the bar. It was one of those places that tried to look expensive by making everything dark. Jake was already halfway through his first beer when I arrived. You look terrible, he said. Good to see you too. I sat down. He pushed the menu toward me. So what happened? I hadn't told him everything yet. Jake knew Emily and I had been having problems. That was it. So I gave him the short version. Jake stared at me for several seconds. Then he put down his beer. Wait. Yeah. She wanted a month. Correct. She used 2 days. Very efficient woman. And now she wants you to stop? Correct again. Jake leaned back. That's not an open marriage. That's a coupon. I laughed. A coupon? One-time hall pass, redeemable by Emily only, terms and conditions apply. Why did you agree? Because she told me she was doing it with or without my agreement. Jake stopped smiling. She actually said that? Almost word for word. Jesus. Yeah. He took another drink. So what now? Now we have 26 days left. Jake looked at me. You're actually going to do something? I don't know. That was the truth. Despite everything, I hadn't spent the previous 2 days hunting for women. I wasn't on dating apps. I hadn't messaged exes. I hadn't suddenly transformed into some middle-aged nightclub predator. Mostly, I was angry and curious. Because since Thursday morning, Emily had become obsessed with what I was doing. She asked when I'd be home, who I was texting, whether there were any new women at work. When I told her I was meeting Jake, she'd asked which bar, then casually asked if it was that singles place. I didn't even know what a singles place was. She thought you wouldn't find anyone, Jake said. That's brutal. It's also becoming increasingly funny. Jake raised his glass. To modern marriage. I tapped mine against it. To personal growth. We stayed there for about an hour before 2 women took the empty seats beside us at the bar. One was blonde, the other had dark brown hair. Both looked around our age, maybe early 30s. Jake noticed them immediately. Jake could detect an attractive woman from 3 counties away. The brunette ordered a drink, then looked at Jake's glass. That any good? Jake looked down at his beer. It's beer. She laughed. Strong opening. Shakespeare could rest easy. Within 5 minutes, the 4 of us were talking. Their names were Claire and Madison. Claire was the brunette. Madison was blonde. They were friends from work and had come out because Madison had recently broken up with someone. I'm celebrating, Madison said. Claire looked at her. You cried in the Uber. I was celebrating emotionally. Jake pointed at her. I like her. I'm available, Madison said. I gathered. The conversation was easy. Nobody was trying too hard. Jake did most of the flirting. I mostly listened and occasionally contributed something useful. Then Claire turned to me. You're quiet. I've been told it adds mystery. It doesn't. Damn. It mostly makes you look tired. That's marriage. The word came out before I thought about it. Claire raised an eyebrow. You're married? Jake looked at me. I looked at him. Complicated, I said. Madison laughed. That sounds healthy. You have no idea. I didn't explain. I wasn't going to drag 2 strangers into the details of my marriage. At least, that was the plan. Another hour passed. Then the bartender announced last call. Jake looked disappointed. I refuse to accept this. Claire checked her phone. It's almost midnight. Exactly. I'm still young. You complained about your knee 20 minutes ago. That was weather-related. Madison laughed. We could go somewhere else. Jake looked at me. There was a question in his expression. I knew exactly what he was asking. My house was about 15 minutes away. Emily was home. And suddenly a very stupid idea entered my head. I remembered Emily standing in our kitchen. I didn't think you'd actually do anything. I looked at Jake. We can go to my place. His eyebrows went up. Your place? Yeah. He knew Emily would be there. His face slowly changed. Oh no. Then, oh yes. Madison narrowed her eyes. You sure? Absolutely. So we left. On the ride over, I explained only one thing to Jake while Claire and Madison were a few steps ahead of us. Nothing is happening. Jake nodded. I know. This is just drinks. He smiled. But this is going to be spectacular. When we reached my house, the living room lights were on. Emily was awake. Of course she was. She'd texted me twice already. Having fun? When are you coming home? I hadn't answered the second message. We walked up to the front door. Claire looked at the house. Nice place. Thanks. I unlocked the door. Emily was sitting on the couch with the TV on. She turned her head when we entered. First she saw me, then Jake, then Claire, then Madison. Her expression froze. It was incredible. If someone had unplugged her and plugged her back in, I don't think the result would have been different. "Hey," I said. Emily stood up. "Hey." Her eyes moved from Claire to Madison, then back to me. "Who are they? Friends from the bar?" Jake suddenly became extremely interested in taking off his jacket. "Coward." Claire smiled politely. "Hi." Emily didn't answer immediately. Madison looked between us. Then she looked at Emily and asked, "And you?" "This is my sister Emily. She's staying with me for a while," I said. Jake coughed, loudly. He turned away. Emily stared at me. I had seen my wife angry before. I had seen her furious. None of those expressions compared to this one. Claire smiled at her. "Nice to meet you." Emily's jaw tightened. For one beautiful second, I could actually see the decision happening behind her eyes. "Correct me. Tell them you're my wife. Explain everything." "Go ahead." Instead, Emily forced a smile. "Nice to meet you too." I nearly admired her commitment. Madison took off her coat. "Your brother said we could have another drink here." Emily's eyes moved to me. "My brother did?" "Yep," I said. She smiled. It was the kind of smile usually seen immediately before someone poisons a wealthy relative. How generous of him. Claire walked into the living room. Madison followed. Jake passed me and whispered without moving his lips, "You're going to die." Then Emily walked past me toward the kitchen. As she passed, she leaned close enough that only I could hear her. "What the hell are you doing?" I whispered back. "Exploring myself." She stopped. I kept walking. Behind me, Jake made a sound that was suspiciously close to a laugh. The night had officially begun. Emily returned from the kitchen carrying 4 glasses. She put them down harder than necessary. Claire looked at her. "You okay?" "Perfect." I knew that tone. Our guest didn't. Madison sat beside Jake while Claire took the chair next to me. Emily immediately sat across from us. Apparently my sister had decided to supervise. We talked. Or rather, everyone except Emily talked. Claire asked what I did for work. Madison told a story about her terrible ex. Jake kept drinking with the expression of a man watching live television during a natural disaster. Then Claire laughed at something I said and touched my arm. Emily's glass stopped halfway to her mouth. Her eyes went directly to Claire's hand. I noticed. So did Jake. Claire didn't. "So," Madison said, looking at me, "how long have you been single?" I almost choked. There were no good answers. So naturally, I chose the worst one. "It's complicated." Emily's eyebrows rose. "Very complicated," she said. Madison laughed. "I knew it." Claire smiled at Emily. "You must know all his secrets." "Oh, I know plenty." Emily looked directly at me. "Mark has always had trouble knowing when he's gone too far." Jake immediately took a drink. I smiled. Older sisters are so judgmental. Emily's eye twitched. She was going to murder me, probably with something from our own kitchen, which felt financially disrespectful. Claire leaned toward me. "You two don't look alike." "Different fathers," I said. Emily inhaled sharply. Jake started coughing again. Emily stood. "Mark, kitchen, I need help." Her smile disappeared. "Now." I followed her. The second we were out of sight, she turned on me. "Get them out." I kept my voice low. "Why? Are you insane?" "They're having drinks. In our house. Don't play stupid." "I'm not playing." She pointed toward the living room. "You brought 2 women home." "With Jake." "That doesn't make it better." "Why?" "You know why?" I folded my arms. "Actually, I'd love to hear this." Her face went red. "This is our home. And? You don't bring women here." That rule wasn't mentioned. Her mouth opened, then closed. "Mark, stop. You wanted an open marriage. I told you I was done." And I told you I wasn't. You're doing this to punish me. No, I'm exploring myself. Don't you dare use my words against me. She stared at me, then lowered her voice. Have you been with any of them yet? No details. Mark. No details, Emily. Your rule. Her face changed. For the first time, the anger cracked. Please get them out. No. Her head snapped back. No. They're guests. In my house. Our house. Mark. 1 month. Stop saying that. Why? You love that sentence, Tuesday. She looked like she wanted to scream. Instead, she walked back into the living room. I followed. The next 20 minutes were torture. For Emily. For me, they were surprisingly educational. Finally, Claire asked me, have you ever been married? Emily nearly dropped her glass. Jake closed his eyes. I looked at Claire, then at Emily. Yeah. Claire looked surprised. What happened? Emily stared at me. I took a sip of my drink. Long story. That bad? Let's just say we had different ideas about what marriage was supposed to look like. Jake lowered his head. I could see his shoulders moving. The bastard was laughing. Emily stared at me like she was trying to set me on fire through concentration alone. Fair enough, I won't pry. Emily stood up. Anyone need another drink? No, I'm good, Madison said. Claire checked the time. Actually, we should probably get going soon. I glanced at Emily. For the first time all night, she looked genuinely happy. We talked for another 15 minutes. Nothing happened. No dramatic flirting, no secret bedroom trip, no scandal. That wasn't why I had brought them home. I wanted Emily to sit there and experience exactly what she had expected me to tolerate. Uncertainty, jealousy, and the wonderful little voice in your head asking what might happen next. Turns out she hated all three. Eventually, Madison stood and grabbed her coat. Okay, I'm officially done for tonight. Claire stood too. Same. Emily was on her feet before either of them had fully finished the sentence. I looked at Jake. He looked at me. Neither of us said anything. We didn't need to. At the door, Claire smiled at me. Thanks for the drinks. Anytime. Emily appeared beside me. Good night. Claire smiled at her. Nice meeting you, Emily. You too. That was the warmest Emily had sounded all evening. Madison hugged Jake, then waved at me. See you around, Mark. Maybe. I could practically feel Emily's eyes drilling into the side of my skull. Jake started putting on his jacket. I'll make sure they get home. Thanks. He leaned closer as he passed me. Good luck. Coward. I have survival instincts. Then he followed them outside. I closed the door, turned around. Emily was standing 10 feet away, silent. She stared at me. I walked past her and started collecting the glasses. That apparently offended her even more. That's it? I looked over my shoulder. What? You're seriously going to act like nothing happened? I'm cleaning up. You brought 2 random women into our house. They weren't random. Their names were Claire and Madison. Her face went red. I never said you could bring women into our home. You never said I couldn't. I shouldn't have to. I laughed. That's an interesting argument considering I thought I shouldn't have to tell my wife I didn't want her seeing other men. She went quiet. Only for a second. That is completely different. She crossed her arms. You did this deliberately. I didn't answer. You wanted me to sit there and watch. I picked up another glass. Did you enjoy yourself? Go to hell. You humiliated me. Nobody even knew you were my wife. So which part humiliated you? Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. That they thought you were my sister? Or that 2 attractive women were sitting in our living room and you had no idea what I might do? I leaned against the counter. You know what the best part was? I'm sure you're going to tell me. Nothing happened, she frowned. What? Nothing happened with Claire. Nothing happened with Madison. I didn't kiss anyone. I didn't disappear upstairs. I didn't even ask for a phone number. Emily stared at me. Then why bring them here? To show how crazy your idea of an open marriage is. She turned away, but I wasn't finished. I looked at her. Emily. What? The guy from Wednesday. Her shoulders stiffened. I noticed immediately. How did you meet him? She turned around. We agreed on no details. I'm not asking what happened. I'm asking when you met him. Her expression changed. Barely. But enough. And suddenly, the question became much more important. I straightened. You already knew him. She looked away. And that was when the entire ridiculous situation finally clicked into place. The speeches about freedom, the sudden interest in open relationships, the oddly specific one time, the fact that she had gone out less than 24 hours after getting what she wanted. This hadn't been some spontaneous experiment. There had been a man waiting on the other side of that conversation. I looked at my wife. I think our marriage is over. I walked out of the kitchen. I made it halfway up the stairs before Emily followed me. No. Mark, please. Mark, wait. I stopped. What? She looked exhausted now. Just panic. I knew him before. Nothing happened before Wednesday. Do you expect that to make this better? She flinched. He's someone I know through work. We talk sometimes, that's all. And at some point you decided you wanted more. She didn't answer. Right? Yes. I nodded. Suddenly everything made perfect sense. She started crying. Normally, seeing Emily cry would have destroyed me. That night I just felt tired. She stepped closer. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But it was once, I swear. And afterward I realized I didn't want any of this. I looked at her. You realized that after you got what you wanted. I realized I wanted you. No. I shook my head. You already had me. That stopped her. You had me for 6 years. She wiped her face. I still love you. Maybe you do. But you were willing to destroy our marriage for one night with a guy you'd already picked out. She shook her head. I didn't think it would destroy us. And that was probably the most honest thing she'd said all week. She genuinely hadn't. In Emily's version of events, she would have her experience, come home, announce she was all mine again, and I would be so grateful to have been selected as the permanent option that we'd continue our marriage like nothing happened. The possibility that I might have feelings about this had apparently been left out of the business plan. It doesn't change anything. Our marriage is over. Her face went pale. No. Mark, please. She started crying harder. Where are you going? Jake's. Please don't leave. I need to get out of here. We can fix this. Not tonight. I packed enough clothes for several days. Emily followed me from room to room. She apologized. She promised to block him. Then she offered to show me her phone. I didn't want it. I didn't need screenshots, timelines, deleted messages, or a forensic investigation into exactly how stupid I had been. The important part was already clear. She had wanted another man. I had said no. She had told me she intended to do it anyway. Everything after that was paperwork. When I reached the front door, Emily grabbed my arm. Mark, please, 6 years. I looked at her. Exactly. She let go. I left. Jake opened his door 20 minutes later, wearing sweatpants and holding a bag of chips. He looked at my overnight bag. Oh. Yeah. He stepped aside. I assume the sister thing didn't strengthen the marriage. Surprisingly, no. I stayed with him for the weekend. Emily called constantly. Then came the texts. I'm sorry. Please come home. We need to talk. I blocked him. I'll do anything. Please don't throw away 6 years over one mistake. That last one bothered me. One mistake. As if she had accidentally backed into my car. So I finally replied. It wasn't one mistake. You thought about it. You chose him. You asked me to approve it. When I refused, you told me you were doing it anyway. Then you did it. That's a sequence of decisions. On Monday, I contacted a divorce attorney. By the end of the week, I had started the process. Emily didn't take it well. She went from apologizing to blaming me, then back to apologizing. At one point, she actually accused me of giving up on us too easily. That was impressive. She also kept bringing up Claire and Madison. She wanted to know if I had seen either of them again. I hadn't. I didn't even have their numbers. Jake did end up going on a date with Madison, though, which meant technically someone benefited from our open marriage. The divorce took months. I haven't spoken to Emily since. Jake still occasionally jokes that I owe him for letting me sleep on his couch. I remind him that he got a girlfriend out of the whole disaster. He and Madison are still together. Claire apparently still thinks I'm insane. Fair assessment. As for me, I learned something useful. If your spouse comes to you asking to open the marriage because they just need one experience, ask one question before discussing rules. Do you already know who you want? You might save yourself a lot of time. If you felt this story hit hard, drop a like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps Steelheart beating.